Right then. Well, I'm sitting here letting the van warm up because it's 50 degrees outside. So this cold snap has showed up. Yep. Magical Monday morning here. Today is mostly diagnostics. And a couple of them are going to be challenging because they're diagnostics I've been on before. And I deemed there was nothing wrong with the unit, normal operational noises, etc. And now customers calling back, no, we can't tolerate it, blah, blah, blah. So I don't like those kind of situations because then you're almost forced to throw parts at it just so you look like you're doing something to solve their problem. And then I know damn well that if I throw parts at it, the problem's there is no real problem to begin with, so it's not going to get any better, and it's going to end up like DTR on an endless journey to nowhere. So I'm not looking forward to some of these today. Yeah. A lot of times customers, these are the type of people that argue with their doctor, and they don't believe you. They're convinced that they're right and there is a problem, something's wrong, something's broke, and that's not the case. And there's no telling them otherwise. It's almost like they want you to throw parts at it, and it's ridiculous. So I got a bunch of those to deal with today. Yeah. So that'll be my day. But we had a transfer truck. No, that comes today. So I guess I'll see what shows up back in the shop there for parts for the week. Yeah. Stuff that I ordered or stuff that I didn't order that somebody else thinks will solve a problem. You know what I mean? Yep. Anyway, weekend was real good. I'll tell you what, that Jeep, that's a whole different creature now. Rob and I spent all day putting brakes in it and replacing the driver's side front axle U-joint. When we took that thing apart, it fought us. We had to use a torch to get it apart. We got it apart, and there was nothing left inside of the bearing cups on that U-joint except rusty powder and pieces. Yeah, it was bad. So that's a beautiful thing that happened. But the brakes, I honestly didn't think I had a problem. Still able to stop the vehicle relatively decent. You couldn't hammer on the brakes and lock them up and come to a stop. But I was okay with the way it was stopping. Yeah. Brake pads were like that thick. The caliper on the right front wheel was locked up. The emergency brake system in the back, on the back axle, was actually jammed up and was dragging. So when I would drive the Jeep and I'd take my foot off the gas, I would have this sensation that there was like a hand pushing on the windshield. Or even when I was driving, it just seemed like there was a lot of wind resistance. That's what I chalked it up to. No, my brakes were actually dragging, slowing me down. So my gas mileage is going to go up. Everything's going to be good. I take my foot off the gas now, like on an off-ramp or something, and it'll literally roll all the way up to the stop sign, whereas before it wouldn't do that. So, big improvement. But it's nice having an ASC certified mechanic friend doing the work, because it's done right, and he pays attention to detail. And if he doesn't do it right and something were to happen to me, like the wheel was to fall off or something like that, since he's ASE certified, he could actually go to jail for not doing the job properly the way he knows it should be done. If he takes shortcuts and cuts corners, it could punt it, it could hurt him. So it's done right. Yeah, and it took all day to do it. All 4 corners. New rotors, new pads, but we serviced all of the calipers, greased. We had to go get parts, a service kit for the calipers to get them working. Yeah, it's a whole new ball game. So I could sleep at night. But that took up all of Saturday. I went to the trailer to grab a couple of things, and I stopped at this tenant in the trailer and took a look at a dryer that stopped working. So I need to look up parts for that. Thermal fuses popped. Yep. So I gotta deal with that. But yeah. And then Sunday we went to church. 2 hours. It's a little long, right? But it is what it is. So we did that, and then we came home and started working on projects around the house at the lake house. Since I'm gonna be trying to build the shop here before winter, I gotta open up that middle bay, right? We talked about it. So I had plans of pulling the 6-wheeler Thunder Toad out of that bay and sticking it in the front lawn and covering it up with a tarp for the winter. Well, after I got working in the garage, organizing and things like that, it magically opened up, and I don't need to pull Toad out of the garage to do what I gotta do. The garage basically was a drop and go situation. So I'd bring something home from the trailer and I would just drop it in the garage and go. Close the door. I'll deal with it later. As a result, it was just a chaotic hodgepodge of disorganization, and the thing filled up in a hurry. So Scrunch and I got out there and started working on that. And I've got a front load washer and dryer that were donated to me for free from a friend. The lady that owned it, I think she's got early onset dementia or something. So she was using the washing machine as a storage. She's kind of a pack rat, so she was using it as storage. She was putting things in the washing machine to store them, like a cabinet. And then she forgot she had them in there. And she started the washing machine. So she had papers in there, she had a calendar in there, and all of that paper got wet, turned to mush, and got down into the drain pump system and plugged up the drain. It was a mess. So I spent a majority of the day yesterday tearing that machine apart, cleaning all that stuff out of there. And then I hooked it up to the garden hose out in the driveway and did a test run on the machine to make sure it would complete a cycle. And it did. So it works. So now we just got to clean it up. That's the lady I was telling you about is a heavy chain smoker, one right after the other. And the machines are literally yellow from nicotine staining. So next weekend, Scrunch is going to go at that with some some heavy duty cleaner, and we're going to clean those machines up, and then we're going to get them up on Facebook Marketplace so I can make some money. There's some other items in there that I'm going to sell as well. But now I have a place in bay number 2 where I can stage all that stuff and have it sitting, so that when prospective buyers come to look at it, they can look at it somewhat easily. So that's a good thing. Rob wants to get into RC cars and stuff, so I'm going to hang on to my RC stuff. I was going to try to sell it all to him, but I'm going to hang on to it. So I got to move all that stuff from the garage into the 3rd bedroom, and I'll set up a little RC workshop in there to wrench on those cars and be able to play with them and stuff. So yeah, we gotta do that. That'll open up a lot of space. Yep. So it's all about opening up space, starting to organize things so that I can literally use, I'll have enough room to start building the fab shop. Yeah. So it was a busy, productive weekend. Yeah. Scrunch made dinner. She dried and folded my laundry. She cleaned the kitchen. She's awesome. Yeah. All that stuff that I would have to do on top of everything else I have to do, that's what gets me overwhelmed, you know. Yeah, so I appreciate and value her quite a bit. Yep. For being a team player. So it's awesome. Other than that, yes. I'll put it as the picture, the header picture on this video. It has been determined that my lake has muskies. It has a muskie. It might have more. But the party people across the lake, he caught one. And it's about 40 inches. It's a big fish. So there's muskie in my lake. So, sweet. That's awesome. The only thing I haven't seen caught yet is walleyes. I know people put them in there. They'll go and fish the river, and they'll keep some, and then when they get home, they let them go in the lake. But I don't think anybody's ever caught them again. I don't know if, I think the northerns and the muskies probably eat them, right? But this is a big fish, probably a 30-year-old fish. So what happens is, how they get in there, there's a creek. The secret lake in the back is spring fed. Then that lake dumps out of the channel into my lake, and then dumps out of my lake from a creek that runs down to the Wisconsin River, which is close by. Well, in the spring of the year, in the muskies, when they spawn, they run up rivers and creeks to spawn, including the little ones. That's an instinct they have, so they do it even if they're small. So I'm thinking that's how he got in there, and he's been in there for a while, because he's 40 inches, big fish. Yep, sweet. Oh, I got another reason to live. Yeah, I can go muskie fishing on my lake. Yeah, so that was cool. Everybody was up at their cabins because it was, doing yard work and stuff, because it was a nice weekend. So I got talking to Steve and Christina next door, and he's the one that had received the picture, because they're friends with the people across the lake, and the guy sent him the picture, so he forwarded it to me. So yeah, that was cool. We got talking about putting in my swimming beach. When they bought their cabin next to me, they said our whole front of our shit was nothing but scrub brush and crap. We cleaned all this out. I said, did you get in trouble? Did the rat finks down the lake rat you out? He said, no. He said, I even go out into the lake and pull the weeds out of the bottom so they don't grow in on our swimming beach. And they got a nice little beach there. And he goes, just do it. He says, I don't think anybody will screw with you. I'm like, all right, cool. So we're going to continue that project before the lake freezes over. But my neighbor across the road, off the end of my driveway, he was up this weekend, and I haven't seen him since early spring, when we first introduced ourselves to each other. So he was pulling out of his driveway shortly after we got back from church. So I got to introduce him to Scrunch, and we sat out there and talked for about 30 minutes or so. His son-in-law got a bear. It's bear hunting season. Got a bear over there. 390 pounds dressed. That means cleaned. All of its guts out. It was well over 400 prior to that. He's got trail cameras on his property. And he said there's shit tons of bears. There's 3 sows. One has 2 cubs, one has 3, and one might have 4 cubs. Oh no. The place is overrun with bears. Yeah. Now I've yet to see one in my yard. But he has access to a couple hundred acres that he owns. And they're all hanging around out in his place. But, wow. So speaking of his land, while we were standing there, I asked him if I could have permission to, me and Scrunch could go stomping around in his woods looking for mushrooms. And he gave us permission to do that. So finally I got the window to ask him about that. So awesome sauce. So we now have our own mushroom woods across the street. So that's cool. Don't have to go very far. You know, I don't think we're going to find morels in there. There's not the right kind of trees for that. But everything else that we've been finding this fall, we should be able to find in there. Yeah. Awesome. He also gave me permission. He owns land on either side of that channel that goes into the back lake. And I told him about that big tree that's laying in the water. And he gave me permission to use the Argo to drag that up onto dry land, to open up that channel so we can get a boat through there easier. He also said if any trees drop across the channel, go ahead and cut them up, get them out of there. He also said if you see any beavers, get them. There used to be a big beaver problem back there, and they were trying to dam up that channel. And he was out there banging beavers. That came out wrong. Shooting beavers for a while. And he didn't want them around. So, yeah, we'll help him out. We'll help out the cause. So, and that's legal. Yeah. So, yeah, lots of permissions were granted. And I am happy. Yes. All right, I'm going to get this day over with. I might just go home and either keep working out in the garage. That's probably what I'll do. Or I could put on some waders and go out in the lake and start pulling weeds by hand. But I want to get the roots out of the bottom so they don't come back. You know, that's what Steve does next door. And he says, yeah, it's pretty successful. Every now and then you got a straggler or something that shows up, and you just go out and pick it. And you'll keep your shoreline. And he also confirmed that doing that is advantageous for the fish because they have a lot of spawning beds for bluegills and bass. on their nice sandy bottom. And the fish don't like to have to clean away, 4 inches of mud to try to get down to the sand. They want to be on the sand to lay their eggs, not the mud. So his section of shoreline is got a lot of spawning beds on it, and mine doesn't so much. So eventually, we're helping the lake as far as reproduction goes by cleaning the silt and the mud off the bottom, so that the fish that use the sand to spawn actually have a nice area to do so. So yeah, pretty cool. But I'm gonna get this party started. 6 calls today. One of them I gotta run all the way down to Central because that customer only wants me there. And yeah, so we'll get some hours today. I also got to put in for a vacation. I got like 28 hours left of vacation, and so I'm going to plan it out for Thanksgiving and between Christmas and New Year's. So when I get home tonight, I'll look at the calendar and I'll get that request in ahead of time. Yeah, so I'll lock that in. And then it all recycles in January. I get my 3 weeks again. So, woot woot. All right, talk to you soon.